Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to our Tuesday morning, May 21st meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. My name is Andy Hunthausen. To my left, Commissioner Tom Rolfe. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Tom's left, Nadine McCarty. She'll be taking care of us today. Thank you, Nadine. To her left, Greg McNally, our Director of Community Development and Planning. To my right, Commissioner Candace Payne. Good morning, Candace Payne.
Good morning, Chairman.
And to her right, Nico Hash, Deputy County Attorney. Good morning. And Roger Baltz, our Chief Administrative Officer. I want to remind everyone there's a sign-in sheet in the front as well as some agendas. Please sign in so we have a good record of who's attended our public meeting prior to leaving today. And we will start with our consent action items. Mr. Baltz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. You have one item to consider this morning. It's item 2A on your agenda. It is an engagement letter with Eide, Bailey, and staff recommends approval. And Commissioners, this is for our audit services, just as a reminder. And staff does recommend approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Baltz? Commissioners, any questions? How about public comment on the consent action item? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the consent action item 2A as explained by Mr. Balls.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve consent as presented. Further discussion, commissioners. Boy, I'm having trouble today. Further discussion, commissioners. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. All right. Next on our agenda is Lewis and Clark County DUI Task Force Annual Plan and Budget Presentation. We have some special guests today. I'll let you all introduce yourselves and you have the floor. We'll just listen for a bit and there may be some questions afterwards, but good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for seeing us, Chairman Hunthausen and Commissioners. I am Lieutenant Jayson Zander with the Helena Police Department. I am the chair for the Lewis and Clark County DUI Task Force. I'll let my two partners introduce themselves.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Maureen Ward. I'm the Injury Prevention Program Manager here in Helena, but for the state of Montana, and I'm the Vice Chair.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tracy Kiesel. I'm the Buckle Up Montana Coordinator and Montana's Child Passenger Safety Training Coordinator and the Secretary and Coordinator of the DUI Task Force.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. Feeling a little bit of deja vu here. I feel like we've done this a few times. So going over our plan and budget with you. Hopefully before you see our plan and budget, Mrs. Kiesel, our secretary, has once again done a lot of work on putting a lot of stats and information together for you so you can review this. As you can see, DUI, driving under the influence and impaired, is still a problem here in Lewis and Clark County. And we are still doing what we can to educate and enforce DUIs. We are continuing to provide funding for our local agencies for overtime shifts or equipment or something that they see fit for DUI enforcement. And we are continuing to do several other funding things, and we're always working together trying to come up with educational pieces for the public. And I don't mean to rush you. Certainly can look through, but if you go over to page 19, that's kind of where we start talking mostly about the different things that we are funding. Sorry, I probably should put my glasses on. I'd be able to see a lot better too. So we are following different things within the legislation and doing what we can to support any kind of DUI laws, and as well as seatbelt and child safety seatbelt laws. We're still looking to get a primary seatbelt law in Montana. See if that happens down the road. Moving on down, still on page 20. We are still providing funding for Lewis and Clark County Attorney's Office as well as the City Attorney's Office for intern attorneys. Hopefully we can help get them the help they need for prosecution, as well as maybe find some good attorneys that we'd be willing to come and join our teams as well. I know we've had several attorneys join that have been interns in the past, so it's been a successful program. So we are continuing to do that. We are doing what we can to support the 24/7 sobriety program. We have done some different things with them in the past and continuing. We do have funding requests that the public or these entities can come bring to us for funding that we're always willing to look over. The DRE and A-RIDE programs, I'm not sure if you're familiar with what that is. DRE is Drug Recognition Experts. We have several of them in Lewis and Clark County, both with Helena Police Department and Montana Highway Patrol. And what that is helping with the prosecution and detection of impaired drivers on drugs other than alcohol. So I know we are sending a couple of folks, some of our DREs to the annual convention so that they can get recertified, get more training, and keep up to date on everything that they can as far as that goes. Again, several things that we are doing here. One of the things that we are faced with is, as you may or may not know, we get our funding through reinstatement fees of suspended driver's license. We are seeing a decrease in that. I think there's a number of reasons. Would only be speculation at this point, so don't need to get into that, but we are expecting to see a decrease in reinstatement fees. Some of those funds are probably going to go down. We are still trying to look for alternative ways for funding. We've been holding a concert here for, I don't know, 8 years. Our person that has been doing that for us and been our partner in holding those concerts is, I think he's looking to slow down and maybe retire. So that may be going away, but we're still looking into that. Hopefully we can get one done for this year as well. So, and lastly, I'll just go to our estimated budget sheet that you should have. And as you can see, we're still providing that funding to all the agencies. And
You're back to the front page, Lieutenant, right?
I don't know if it's front page.
Yeah,
I
think. Budget.
budget.
I'm just trying to help the commissioner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Andy. Yep.
So as you can see, our revenue, we're estimating that is probably going to go down. That's yet to be seen. But as you can see, we're still doing everything we can do and trying to spend our money as wisely as we can. I would certainly entertain any questions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yes, I bet there will be a couple. I have some familiarity just being around a long time and having a couple stints on the task force. So I have some understanding, but I don't know if the commissioners have any questions about this. And this is an annual process that we do. They bring the proposed budget and their plan to us, and we discuss it and ask questions, and then send them on their merry way to do good things out in the community. So any questions, commissioners, at this point? How about comments from your partners here? Anything you'd like to add? Tracy, I've never heard you pass up a chance to speak. We might have to limit it here, but no, I'm
Chair Hunthausen, thank you. Yeah, I know sometimes there are concerns from the public or from the commission because we add occupant protection to our plan. And it would be amiss if I didn't bring up the fact that people aren't dying on our roadways because they're drinking. It is certainly altering their ability to safely operate their motor vehicle, but they're dying because they're being tossed around inside their car or out of their car. And that's why we include occupant protection, because if we're going to address the injuries and fatalities associated with DUIs, we have to get to the root of that problem.
Right. That's the seatbelt work and the
Child safety
child
seat.
safety seats. So along those lines, if you would, Lieutenant Zander talked quite a bit about some of the things you're working on, but just some of the events and things that either you or members of the task force have worked on over the last couple of years. I think this is just an opportunity to maybe go beyond this, and we have public that watch this and listen to this, so it might be an opportunity for some education and just talk about a little bit of the good work that you folks do.
Okay, yeah, Chair Hunthausen, we do help support public car seat events where we have a number of certified car seat technicians that come and help families with the proper use and installation of their car seats. We also provide free car seats to families. That's not directly funded through the DUI task force. That's funded through my program, but it is supported by the DUI task force. We support the Alive at 25 program, which is for teens between the ages of 14 and 25. And that's an educational program to help some of them who have received citations or whose parents volunteer them to come and get a reduced insurance discount. That program addresses speeding, impaired driving, seatbelts, distracted driving, drowsy driving, all those things. It is taught by the Highway Patrol, but the DUI task force does support some training and supplies for that program. We also have an escape room, which is not totally top secret for the DUI task force, but it is our traffic safety themed escape room. And we hold that at the senior all night party every year, which is going to happen June 1 here in Helena with all the high schools, all the alternative schools, the homeschool students. And this year we have invited Jefferson High School students because they have decided not to have their own party. So we've invited them to the Helena party and East Helena High School. The escape room has been voted the most popular activity at the senior all night party for the last 3 years. So we're pretty proud of that. We supply some materials and some of the things for that. And then we also have a great deal of our members who try to make sure that they're keeping up on their own credentials. And so we send a lot of our members to the annual, actually biannual, we go biannually to the Lifesavers Conference, which is the largest national traffic safety conference in the nation. And for most of us, because it has different tracks, law enforcement, prosecution, seatbelts, education, prevention, we take different tracks and we bring that back to our community and add those things to our plan. So we're doing as much as we can to keep people safe. The last thing that I'll point out is we do participate in Montana's Adopt a Highway program. So not only are we keeping Lewis and Clark County safe, we're trying to keep it beautiful too. And we have the section right by Walmart from Pizza Hut down to the Auto Mall. And we're scheduled to do that this Thursday. We do it twice a year. So we're trying to get back to the community that way also. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maureen, anything you want to add?
Well, I feel like Tracy really covered it all, but I just wanted to reemphasize that motor vehicle crashes are still the #1 preventable injury and death cause for Montanans age 1 through 44. So this work really is important. It's close to all of our hearts. And the state lab over in Billings and Missoula have noted that polysubstance DUIs are on the rise, especially with the legalization of marijuana. So supporting that drug recognition expert program through the local law enforcement agencies is really important so that our boots out on the ground can really see what's going on and be able to assess those situations so that we can get those people off the road and keep people safe.
Thank you very much. Any questions, commissioners?
Can
Commissioner
I
Payne,
give a comment?
please.
The work that you do and the wearing of seatbelts became very personal to me 3 years ago, Labor Day. My darling little granddaughter, who I think was 16 at the time, was in a car accident. It was on a Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. I don't think there was booze involved, but she and her friend were driving her mother's Suburban, a big solid car. Well, it turned out they were going too fast and possibly were, well, no possibility. They were not wearing their seatbelts. They came around a curve too fast, rolled the Yukon or the Suburban. The driver was thrown out and killed. My granddaughter was not thrown out. Her window was, the crank didn't work, so she couldn't put her window down. So she was not thrown out, but she ended up with a broken neck. Now, the broken neck was just part of it. A lot of it was the emotional damage done because her best friend died right there. And she still has a lot of issues. My granddaughter was a straight A student. She looked out for her brothers and sisters. She did everything except she was being a teenager. And I remember that and thinking, you're 10 feet tall and made of steel. She has become a real advocate for seat belts. When she gets in my car or any of those other kids get into the car, the first thing they do is just fasten their seatbelt. But it is one of those things that you think, well, of course you have to wear your seatbelt, but people don't. And we pick up the pieces and continue to go on.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate.
Commissioner, thank you for that. It is an issue that we face, and law enforcement, I know there's a deputy here today as well, and we've all had to be part of those crashes and see that as well. And it's very near and dear to us on the task force as well. We've had some personal experiences as well that have been tough. And so when we talk about the seatbelt portion of this, it is an important piece, and we do certainly advocate for a primary seatbelt law in Montana. I think that would be even more encouragement for folks to buckle up. So,
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other questions, comments?
No, I just really appreciate the work that you do. And as a young child, my father ran a wrecker, and he was quite diligent in seeing that I got to see the results of carelessness. I can remember one wreck in particular, a bunch of teenagers, and he wanted me to see what a lapse in good judgment does. So that'll always stick with me.
certainly.
Thank you.
Commissioner, did they have seatbelts on the dinosaurs back then? Sorry, I apologize.
Well, I'll add to your silliness and say yabba dabba do.
but I had him on my Shetland pony. Huh?
Thank you very much. Last thing that I'll add or ask about this, there's a ton of great information right here in this packet. And I first want to recognize the amount of work that has gone into this. And I look at Tracy. I know that you're behind this. So that's a ton of work and a ton of hours. And I just really appreciate the work that you do on behalf of the task force and the community. But if I'm citizen out there watching this today, where do I find it? How can I learn about this information or get this information?
We
on your
are.
site?
We are on the county website, is my understanding. We do have monthly meetings. It's the second Thursday of every month. Public's always welcome. There's a Zoom link that people can get on as well. So we have several public members on the board, but we also have several public folks that just come to attend and be a part of it and offer some suggestions and advice, and it's always welcome. And we've got some really good folks that show up and just to be there and be a part of the community and help. So we encourage that. Everybody's welcome, and we're there every month.
I knew that answer, but I wanted you to say it. Thank you very much for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any last comments? Okay, thank you very much. How about, oh, yeah, no, we're gonna take public comment and then we have to make a decision. So thank you, Tracy, for
thank you.
sure. Any public comment on this item? Any public comment on the DUI task force plan and budget? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. Commissioners, is there a motion to approve this item?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the Lewis and Clark County DUI Task Force Annual Plan and Budget as presented by Jayson, Zander, and the rest of the crew.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the plan and budget as presented. Further discussion, commissioners? All right, thank you again. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is an agreement between Lewis and Clark County and the U.S. Forest Service. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner Hunthausen. I'm Captain Brian Robinson with the Sheriff's Office. For your consideration today, we have the annual operating and financial plan agreement between the U.S. Forest Service and the Lewis and Clark County Sheriff's Office. This financial plan is used by us to conduct patrols in our federal lands in Lewis and Clark County. So as most of you know, this is an annual agreement between Forest Service law enforcement and the Sheriff's Office. They are limited in their resources here in Helena. They have one full-time law enforcement officer that's stationed in Helena, one that is stationed in Townsend, and then one supervisor that is responsible for the entire Southwest Montana. So they rely on us to help them patrol their lands. We have a vast amount of public land in Lewis and Clark County, as you know, just south of the city limits, east to Canyon Ferry Lake York, north to Augusta, west to Lincoln, and west to McDonald Pass. That's a lot of area. And for only 3 people to cover, that is a daunting task. So for at least 10 years that I'm aware of, we've entered into this partnership with the Forest Service to help them make contacts in these campgrounds. Every spring, summer, and fall, we have hundreds, if not thousands of visitors that come to our county to enjoy our scenery and to recreate. It gives us a chance to liaison, to have community engagement with them and provide them law enforcement services if they need it on Forest Service property. The Forest Service has agreed to up to $13,500 for this year. The majority of those funds are going to be used to pay for wages for the deputies that complete those shifts. And a small amount of that will be used for equipment costs if requested by the Sheriff's Office. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, but once again, I want to say this is a great partnership between the Forest Service and Lewis and Clark County.
Thank you, Captain. Well said. Questions, commissioners? Any questions? Commissioner Payne?
What kind of equipment costs would the Sheriff's Department need to be reimbursed for?
So since the reserves do the majority of these shifts, they use equipment costs to purchase radios, their handheld radios that they use while on shift. Some of them, they have used the last funds to purchase shotguns for their vehicles since they're out in Forest Service lands. There's critters out there. So they've used it for those sorts of things. All of those equipment costs have to be approved by the Sheriff's Office and then the Forest Service before being purchased.
And one more, is that part of the Sheriff's Department regular budget? Is that a line item in there?
No, it comes strictly from these funds, from this agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions?
No.
Great. And you said this in your comments, but just to reiterate, this has been a long-standing partnership and we've done this on a regular basis. This is I guess this is just this year, but we've had these contracts as long as I can remember as well with the Forest Service to partner with them to.
I know for at least 10 years that I've been a sergeant and a captain and probably for the entire 24 years that I've been here.
Yeah, right. And as you said, just a shout out to Nick Schultz too. He's their local and law enforcement patrol captain for the U.S. Forest Service, and he tries to be everywhere but can't.
I invited him to come today, but he had other obligations.
Yeah, he might be hundreds of miles away as
Might
far
be.
as we know. So good guy though. Appreciate his work and partnership with us, and thank you for bringing this. Okay. Any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none. Commissioners, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the agreement between Lewis and Clark County and the U.S. Forest Service as explained by Captain Robinson.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the agreement as presented. Further discussion, commissioners? All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Captain. All right, next item on the agenda is Resolution 2024-33, intent to establish the Lewis and Clark County landfill fee rates beginning July 1, 2024. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Audra Zacherl, Assistant Director of Public Works. On April 30th, the Scratch Gravel Solid Waste District Board met and voted to approve several changes to landfill fees effective July 1st, 2024. Those changes include adding a rate for special large bulky waste at $150 flat fee plus the tipping, reducing wastewater screenings from $50 per ton to the Class 2 solid waste tipping fee of $24 per ton, increasing liquid waste from $7 per ton to the Class 2 solid waste tipping fee of $24 per ton, adding the description of food to be included with green waste, adding a rate for wastewater biosolids at $10 per ton, increasing the sale price of bentonite clay from $7 per ton to $10, adding a sale price for chips or mulch at $24 per ton. All other landfill fees and prices will remain the same. The resolution of intent to change the fees will be advertised in the Helena Independent Record for 2 Saturdays, May 25th and then June 8th. Written public comments will be accepted until 4 p.m. on Monday, June 17th at the Lewis and Clark County Clerk and Recorder's Office. The public hearing has been scheduled for Tuesday, June 18th in room 330 of the City County Building. That's this room right here. We're located at 316 North Park Avenue. Anyone who would like more information on the rate changes for the landfill may contact me at the Public Works Department. My number is 447-8037. Staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners approve Resolution of Intent 2024-33 to change the landfill fee rates and open the comment period. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. How about questions? Any questions? While they're thinking about that, I'll reiterate. You said it very well, but just so the public gets this from a straightforward perspective, this is the first step in the process. So this is a resolution of intent to change the fees. We go through a comment period. There's an advertising. It's out there and take comments, and then we hold a public hearing. And then after that public hearing, the commission will make a decision whether to raise the rates or not. So that's basically how it works.
Very well said. Thank you, Chairman.
Questions, comments?
I'm just amazed, if you don't mind my
Please.
asking. Audra, I had no idea that the solid waste landfill fees included things like bentonite clay. So we sell bentonite clay. Our landfill sells bentonite? What?
Thank you for that question, Chairman Hunt, Housing Commissioners. Yes, the landfill is sited on a very rich deposit of bentonite clay. And bentonite clay, for those of you who don't know, it's very waterproof. So like they line ponds and canals with it and that kind of thing. And so every time the landfill staff has to dig a cell, we end up with mounds and mounds of bentonite clay. And we have plenty for our operation. And so we have also plenty to sell if there's an organization that would like to purchase it.
Audra, do you know, do we have to have like a mining permit or something if we are mining bentonite clay?
Thank you for that question. We're not mining clay, we're operating a landfill. So we have to dig it and stockpile it until we can find somewhere to dispose of it.
And just to be clear, they're not typically after the bentonite, it's the clay. So if
Correct.
someone wants to line a pond or a ditch or
Irrigation
something.
canal.
Irrigation canal. Water doesn't pass through it very easily, so it acts as a barrier.
Correct.
So it's not the bentonite that they're after, just for information for those.
You mean bentonite and clay are not? I thought bentonite was part of the clay, isn't that part of the
It is,
chemical
but I mean,
combination?
probably.
I've
right.
worked with bentonite clay before and I
Okay.
had no idea that we had this source. So thank you.
All right. I don't know much about it, but I understand the clay part. Okay, any other questions? No. Okay, thank you. Thank you for bringing this forward. This is the resolution of intent to establish Lewis and Clark County landfill fee rates beginning July 1, 2024. How about public comment on this item? Public comment on this resolution? Public comment? Hearing none, is there a motion, please, Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve resolution 2024-33, intent to establish Lewis and Clark County landfill fee rates beginning July 1st, 2024, as presented by Ms. Zacherl.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the resolution as presented. Further discussion, Commissioners? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, next item on the agenda is a grant application to the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services, Behavioral Health Disabilities Division. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Commission. I'm Sarah Sandow, the Community Health Promotion Division Administrator for Lewis and Clark Public Health. Today, I have before you a grant application to the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services in their Behavioral Health Disabilities Division in the amount of up to $100,000. The grant period would begin July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. The application is due May 22nd, so just tomorrow. We waited a little to put it on the agenda as there was another RFP with a similar scope around opioid prevention. So we wanted them to be on the same agenda, but that RFP didn't end up getting posted in time. On average, 20 people die by suicide annually in the county. We have received this grant for the last 3 years to cover our LOSS team. LOSS team is a suicide prevention model where a licensed professional and a suicide loss survivor go to the homes of people who have recently lost someone to suicide to provide support and connect them to resources. The LOSS team offers survivor to survivor support, an installation of hope, local resources they can access, a bag filled with helpful materials, and a grief activity book for any children that might be present or affected. After that initial response, the follow-up team of the LOSS team calls those newly bereaved on a structured interval of 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 1 year after their loss. Because we know that the grieving process takes time, and when people are ready for resources or connection or support, that's when we want to meet them when they're ready. LOSS team has served 70 survivors since its start in April 22 through March 2024. This grant, we would also include our Safer Communities Montana work, as the 2 grants that are currently covering that program are supposed to sunset in this calendar year and are not expected to have funds to continue that grant process. Since 2019, the working group Safer Communities Montana have centered on preventing suicides by intentional overdose and firearms. Through outreach, Safer Communities Montana leverages potential partners, identifies points of intervention, and provides customizable materials for Montanans to easily adopt and implement safe storage of lethal means. The group provides resource material, posters, literature displays, gun locks, and Deterra, which is a drug deactivation tool, as part of its program. In 2023, Safer Communities Montana distributed 749 gun locks and 183 Deterra deactivation tools. With the implementation of memorandums of understanding with different organizations, there is a significant increase in distribution thus far in 2024. So far, we're expected that to continue. So far in 2024, Q1, so just from January through March, we have distributed 267 gun locks and 225 Deterra. So we continue for that to increase as we're working with organizations to give it to their clients when they see someone in need. The funding we're asking for through this grant is for supplies, marketing, training, and resources. Staff recommends approval, and I have some staff here with me as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Questions, commissioners? About this grant application? Commissioner Payne.
I'm always interested in which grants we are using where. So what are the two grants that are going away that this will fill that hole?
Yeah, we have an injury prevention grant through the Department of Public Health and Human Services. That was from, I believe we started in October 2023, and that will sunset through July 2024. And that covered our Safer Communities Montana, specifically of creating the toolkit that we're creating, as well as printing and some staff time to work on those projects. So we brought that, I believe, about a month ago here. It was a little delayed for the toolkit, specifically that contract. But we have that through July, and they're through a Center for Disease Control grant. That is a 5-year grant, so they do have one more year of the grant. So there's a chance we'll receive some funding, but since we received it for the past 3 years, they said they might give it to some other Montana communities, which is understandable. And then the other grant is a Montana Mental Health Trust grant, which is on the calendar year. So we are midway for our 2024. That covers all our gun locks, deterra, supplies, marketing right now for our Safer Communities Montana. So that will go through December 2024, but then they've been told that there's no more funds for that grant program as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions?
So there, I just might ask, there is some anticipation that we may not get the whole 100,000.
Yeah, it's possible. So as we were looking through it, we can apply for up to 100 grand. It looks more as we've been crunching the numbers and finalizing the application. We're probably going to apply for 80 grand actually. So we're going to apply for 80 grand, and the hope is that they cover the full 80, but they might come back and give us less, and we'll have to make some cuts then.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And really important program.
Yes.
And has been well received, and it was enlightening to hear you and the sheriff's office speak to it at Hometown Helena a few weeks ago. I thought that was great. And I'm really glad that we are including the lost team and that work as part of our continuum, because it's really important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, commissioners? How about public comment on this item? Public comment, any public comment? All right, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the grant application, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the grant application to the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services, Behavioral Health Disabilities Division, as explained by Ms. Sandow.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the grant application as presented. Further discussion, commissioners?
This is important work, and I certainly appreciate the fact that they're trying to anticipate the loss of funds into the next fiscal year and filling this. So thank you.
Yes. All right, with that, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is another grant application to the Montana Department of Health and Human Services, Behavioral Health and Human and Development Disabilities Division. Boy,
Thank
mouthful.
you.
I'm having trouble today. Good morning again. Please, you have the floor.
We are in RFP season.
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. I am Sarah Sandow, the Community Health Promotion Division Administrator for Lewis and Clark Public Health. Today, I have before you a grant application to the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services, Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities Division in the range of $750,000 to $1 million. There is no top dollar asking amount, which is why there is still kind of a range of what we're going to be applying for. The grant period begins on July 1st, 2024, and would sunset on June 30th, 2027. So this time it would be a 3-year grant period. Historically, it's been a 1-year grant period. The application is due May 31st. This funding opportunity, which is called the Crisis Diversion Grant, helps to fund avenues to increase diversions from the detention center, emergency room, and Montana Mental State Hospital for those who are experiencing a mental health crisis. The county has received this funding for many years. Lewis and Clark Public Health has managed it for the last few. Last year, this covered the mobile crisis response team and the crisis stabilization and receiving facility. At Lewis and Clark Public Health, we keep an administrative fee, but otherwise most of the funding goes out to organizations that are doing the work. There's an 80% match rate that organizations we are partnering with will take on. For this grant year, the crisis stabilization and receiving facility is an allowable option, as well as permanent housing navigation services. So we're talking to partners who work in both of those fields to see what that might look like, as well as some better data capabilities that we're looking into. We are working with community partners to hear about this work being done and what could be a good for this funding opportunity specifically. The Behavioral Health Systems Improvement Leadership Team, which developed in 2020 and includes some of our top leaders in our county who are working in the mental health field, such as our commissioners, Lewis and Clark Public Health, St. Peter's Health, Peerview Health Center, Shodair. That team has supported this application and some of the items that have come before them that we might be able to fund through this opportunity. Staff recommends approval, and I'm here for questions. Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you very much. Questions, commissioners? Looks like none at this time. How about public comment on this item? Public comment on this item. Public comment. Hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the grant application to the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities Division as presented by Ms. Sando.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the grant application as presented. Further discussion.
Just
Commissioner Rowe.
comment, I really appreciate the detailed information you sent over on this and how you're approaching the grant. Helps to understand the fancy language in the grant. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah. And I would say the same. Thank you again. I said this last week, but reaching out to us ahead of time and making sure that there's as much understanding as possible in these complicated situations prior to getting here. Really appreciate that. It helps a lot. And then in terms of the work that can be done and will be done with these dollars, assuming we're successful, really important. And being part of the leadership team and all of that, this is essentially putting our work and money where our mouth is. This is what we said we were going to try and address, is the crisis continuum of care and the work that we already have established in our community, and try and keep that going. And then, as you talked about, the diversion from the detention center, the emergency room when possible, and our state hospital. This was a year where we probably, in my tenure here, spent more dollars on commitments to the state hospital than we ever have in the past. And some of that is because those pricings have changed and some of that, but it is concerning. And so we have some opportunity to really get some infrastructure on the ground with this funding and to make a real difference in keeping people in our community and working with them here and stabilizing folks that are in crisis. So thank you very much is what I meant to say. I took a long time to say it there. All right, commissioners. With that, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All right, next item on the agenda is an agreement between Lewis and Clark County and Many Rivers Whole Health. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Brenda Neiman. I'm the health officer for Lewis and Clark Public Health. The Lewis and Clark Behavioral Health Systems Improvement Leadership Team was created back in 2020 as a way to collaboratively address significant gaps in service. Most notably, when the provider of the Journey Home, our crisis stabilization facility, exited our community in December of 2019. The leadership team consists of organizational leadership from St. Peter's Health, Peerview Health Center, Shodair Hospital, Many Rivers Whole Health, as well as internal county partners from County Commission, Sheriff's Office, Criminal Justice Services, and Public Health. The mission of the leadership team is to work regionally at a systems level and throughout the continuum of care So behavioral health crises are decreased and well-being is increased. The primary goals of the leadership team are to make data-informed decisions, collect, analyze, and share data on current behavioral health crisis care, advocate for improved methods of funding behavioral health prevention and crisis care, plan, implement, and improve the Crisis Now model, which includes 988, a place to call, mobile crisis response team, someone to respond, and the crisis facility, a place to go when somebody is suffering from a behavioral health crisis. The charter, which is an exhibit to the contract that you have before you, was signed by each of the leadership team partners, and it's attached for your reference. This charter is a commitment to the mission and these goals. It's a commitment to the work that's happening in the community. The contract agreement before you is a financial commitment from each of these external partners, which aids in the overall sustainability of the behavioral health systems improvement work in Lewis and Clark County. Internal partners are also contributing, but it's not necessary to put a formal agreement in place within the county infrastructure. Those within the county infrastructure, it's just a matter of internal funds transfers rather than a formal contract agreement. So the contract before you provides $10,000 per year for 2 years to Lewis and Clark Public Health to support the behavioral health systems improvement work. And this first contract agreement is between Many Rivers Whole Health and Lewis and Clark County. And staff recommends approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, commissioners?
Just,
Great. Yes, sir.
Just a question, as we move forward with potential help from the state through the 872 commission recommendations. I noticed that several people have been trying to attend those and put in input on how we might be use some of those state funds and federal funds to fill some of these needs we have here. So appreciate what you're doing and what the other partners are doing as well.
Thank you.
And not as much a question, but hopefully you'll concur with this. But from my perspective, these agreements and the agreements internally as well to have what I call a shared responsibility for the behavioral health system improvement work in our community. And we knew that the county couldn't do it alone, partners can't do it alone. And so this was a way to develop a leadership team and organize ourselves as a community. And I shout out, thank you to the Montana Healthcare Foundation for kind of prodding us to move in that direction and giving us our initial grant. But this really speaks to community leadership coming together and saying, we recognize it's a shared leadership or a shared responsibility. We're all going to put a little bit of skin in the game and share in that cost of providing some staff time and some planning effort to the end that hopefully we have a better system and a better continuum of care in our community. So there is some sense behind it and organization. I appreciate your work and I appreciate public health taking this on in terms of being the organizing entity and the staffing entity of all of this. So it's good. I'm thankful that we're at this point this year. So, all right. Any further questions?
I have a question.
Please.
Brenda, some of this started out before my time on the commission, and it's my understanding that we've had a previous agreement with Many Rivers Whole Health, and they withdrew, backed out, left town. Was that related to this particular type of an agreement for services, or was that a separate kind of an agreement? And I'm always suspicious if people pulled out once, what's to keep them from doing it again? Can you give me some knowledge on that, please.
Sure, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Payne. I believe what you're remembering is actually Western Montana Mental Health Center, who was the provider for the crisis stabilization facility, the Journey Home. So they left town in 2019 and ended their contract for those services. We have not had that experience with Many Rivers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any further? How about public comment on this item? Public comment? Public comment. Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion, please, commissioners?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the agreement between Lewis and Clark County and Many Rivers Whole Health as explained by Ms. Neiman.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the agreement as presented. Further discussion, commissioners? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, very similar item. Agreement between Lewis and Clark County and St. Peter's Health.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. Again, my name is Drenda Neiman, the health officer for Lewis and Clark Public Health. I will truncate my presentation for these next three because they're exactly the same as the presentation I just gave you. So again, before you is a contract agreement, this time with St. Peter's Health. The contract will provide $10,000 per year for 2 years to Lewis and Clark Public Health to support the behavioral health systems improvement work. And staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners? How about public comment on this item? Public comment. Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agreement between Lewis and Clark County and the St. Peter's Health as presented by Ms. Neiman.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the agreement as presented. Further discussion, commissioners? Just a quick shout out to St. Peter's Health. Been a really great partner through this process since we formed the leadership team. They have taken a leap of faith with us, and at times where, I don't know, I'll say it, we're hoping for funding to come in. They said, well, we'll go forward anyway and provide some service. And so they've done that and been a great partner. We've gotten to a stable place now in our situation for the most part, but really appreciate them working with us and taking on a significant amount of responsibility for moving this work forward. With that, commissioners, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Next item is an agreement between Lewis and Clark County and Peerview Health Center.
Mr. Chair and members of the commission, again, my name is Drenda Neiman, the health officer with Lewis and Clark Public Health. The contract before you provides $10,000 per year for 2 years to Lewis and Clark Public Health for the support of the behavioral health systems improvement work. This time, the contract agreement is with Peerview Health Center. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner? No. How about public comment on this item? Public comment. Public comment. Hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the agreement between Lewis and Clark County and Peerview Health Center as explained by Ms. Neiman.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the agreement as presented. Further discussion. Again, I would just say Peerview has been at the table the whole time and said, how can we help? How can our resources help this effort move forward? And they've been very open and generous through the process. So thank you. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, commissioners. Next item on the agenda is agreement between Lewis and Clark County and Aide Hospital.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, my name is Drenda Neiman, the health officer with Lewis and Clark Public Health. This is the last one. So we have a contract agreement between Aide Hospital and Lewis and Clark Public Health to support the behavioral health systems improvement work in the amount of $10,000 per year for 2 years, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Questions, commissioners? How about public comment on this item? Public comment. Public comment. Okay, hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the contract agreement between Lewis and Clark County and Aide as presented by Drenda Neiman.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the contract as presented. Further discussion, commissioners?
No.
And not to leave them out, I would say again, one more time, at the table and asking, how can we help? How can maybe questions that they don't often ask, but I think this leadership team has brought them to say, hey, how can maybe the hospitals work together to provide some crisis care potentially or other kinds of services where they can work together instead of in a competitive manner. And there's been some great discussions on the table. And I just really appreciate Craig being there all along the way and them offering their assistance. So with that, commissioners, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is an interlocal agreement between Lewis and Clark County, City of Helena, and the City of East Helena. Good morning. Probably have cramped legs by now.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Jenny Chambers, Lewis Clark County Public Works Director. Greg McNally, the Community Development and Planning Director, and I both will jointly present these next 4 agenda items. The first one is an interlocal agreement between Lewis and Clark County, City of Helena, City of East Helena, related to transportation planning services. And just to give you a little background, in January of 2023, Lewis and Clark County received notice from the Montana Department of Transportation that the Helena area exceeded 50,000 population following the 2020 census. That threshold now requires the urban area to form a metropolitan planning organization, or what's referred to as an MPO. This formal designation requires a coordinated effort for transportation for the local jurisdictions that fall under the urban area, which is the City of Helena, City of East Helena, and Lewis and Clark County. This formal designation is required by the Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit Administration. This first agreement, the purpose of the interlocal agreement is to facilitate the creation of the Greater Helena Area Metropolitan Planning Organization and establish understandings and commitments from the City of Helena, City of East Helena, and Lewis and Clark County on how to fund and administer the Greater Helena MPO. The City of Helena MPO it'll enhance the ability of the partners to carry out planning, coordination, and integration activities necessary to maintain a comprehensive, cooperative, and continuing multi-agency transportation planning process. There are several key commitments in this agreement that are summarized here, but there's certainly not everything that's included in the agreement. The City of Helena will be the host agency and provide all administrative functions. The City of Helena will maintain and carry out the legal services that are needed for the MPO or the Transportation Policy Coordinating Committee, which we will talk about in a later agreement document. And the City of Helena, in consultation with this decision-making authority body, the Transportation Policy Coordinating Committee, will enter into all contracts and portions necessary to carry out the functions associated with the City of Helena's and the MPO's contracting and procurement practices. Each party in interlocal agreement will retain their own jurisdiction over the roadways within the respective jurisdictions. However, the purpose of this Greater Helena MPO will be to coordinate specific projects along the respective jurisdictions. Of course, roadways connect to other roadways that certainly fall within our different jurisdictional areas. And that helps us plan and coordinate these efforts within the MPO. This is, again, is a formal process. It's led by the Montana Department of Transportation, and it ensures that all federal requirements are followed and met. And I wanted to turn over to Greg really quick to see if he had anything to add on this first agreement before we close this presentation.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Greg McNally with the Community Development Planning Department. Thank you, Mr. Chambers, for bringing these forward and preparing these documents that you'll have before you today. This is a lot of months of effort on behalf of both the City of Helena, the City of East Helena, and the county in participation and discussion with the Montana Department of Transportation to prepare these documents for you for your consideration. They represent a level of partnership and coordination amongst those jurisdictions. Staff is recommending approval of these agreements, beginning with this interlocal agreement here before you. And we look forward to engaging in this process for the MPO. It is federally mandated that we participate. Communication and coordination is something that we have always engaged in. This is a process that formalizes that for us. And so we look forward to engaging in all the activities that will require us to do.
Thank you. Great description. Appreciate both of you Questions, commissioners?
If,
Please,
if I might,
Commissioner.
just to kind of clarify here, as we're going for, these are just planning funds and that we're going to try to apply for through the MPO.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rolfe, yes. So this agreement just lays out that we're going to coordinate the transportation activities. Another agenda item will get in the specifics of the planning funds and then the dollars associated with what we would have eligibility for to get additional dollars for planning. It is not construction dollars, but does allow us to have some coordination of efforts of what the priority projects are within the MPO. We can plan long-term transportation needs, safety improvement plans, and then it also helps us focus on other federal grants that we might want to apply for actual construction dollars.
If I understand right, if I might follow up, if I understand it right, a lot of times when the federal grants come out, if you have the planning done and it's essentially shovel ready, then that's the sort of thing that they're looking for some of these grants. They want to get them up and rolling as fast as possible. And so you get the planning out of the way and get ready to move as soon as we are able to get some of the federal dollars.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rolfe, yes, that's exactly it. If you're organized and coordinated and have a good plan in place, plus you also then know what you're asking for. You know what the dollars are that you potentially need or what the corridor of the project entails. And that does help you with more funding opportunities moving forward.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to sum it up, essentially, we have passed a threshold in our community, as Mr. McNally just mentioned, that federally we're recognized now as a metropolitan planning area, where prior to that we had a planning process that really it was state driven for the most part. And now it'll be more locally driven by these three jurisdictions. And this today before us is really identifying that relationship and administratively who's going to carry the ball. And the City of Helena is going to take most of that on administratively going forward, which is makes sense. So really appreciate you bringing this forward. Anything else you want to add?
No, Chairman, thank you.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? Okay, commissioners, is there a motion to approve this agreement or this interlocal agreement? Yes.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the interlocal agreement between Lewis and Clark County and the City of Helena and the City of East Helena, as explained by Ms. Chambers and Mr. McNally.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the agreement as presented. Further discussion, commissioners. You said it, Mr. McNally, but I want to recognize both of you and our partners. This didn't come out of thin air. A lot of work behind this and organization and planning and efforts to bring these forward. It's complicated and very federally driven, state and federal driven. So there's a lot of bells and whistles and ins and outs and ups and downs that we have to make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's. So thank you very much for that good work prior to getting to this point. All right, with that, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next item on the agenda is a memorandum of agreement between Lewis and Clark County and the Montana Department of Transportation, City of Helena, and City of East Helena.
Again, good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Jenny Chambers, Lewis Clark County Public Works Director. Again, Greg McNally, Community Development Planning Director, and I will present this agenda item as well. The purpose of this agreement is to establish the commitment by the Montana Department of Transportation, City of Helena, Lewis Clark County, and City of East Helena to continue to cooperate and to plan the Greater Helena Area Metropolitan Organization. The Greater Helena Metropolitan Planning Area will be the area outside of the Metropolitan Planning Organization urban boundary. If you recall, you guys approved boundary maps a couple months ago that really shows the 2020 census urban boundary area. The Metropolitan Planning Area will be an area outside of that we anticipate within those four entities that is expected to grow and become urbanized in the next potential 20 years. So this agreement then allows us to establish procedures and outlines requirements for how we coordinate within that planning area. This agreement provides requirements for an official governing body. So it will establish a transportation policy coordinating committee. which is made up of each entity's primary decision maker in each of those jurisdictions. So for the county, it would be the chairman of the commission. The City of Helena and City of East Helena would be their mayor. It also is going to be an MDT division administrator, and then the chair of the Technical Advisory Support Committee, which is the Transportation Technically Advisory Committee. So it's a small group. They'll be the ultimate decision maker on any transportation decisions, and that will be outlined in this agreement that you'll hopefully consider. The next is to also provide requirements for a technical advisory support so that there's technical advisory staff, public works directors for those different jurisdictions, county and city engineers, other entities that provide stakeholder involvement and support on transportation activities, which could be American Disability Act, pedestrian and motorized vehicle representative, some at-large members as well, including the school districts and things like those that help us with transportation activities. So it'll be a technical advisory support group that'll meet more frequently, that will provide recommendations to the official governing body, which is the Transportation Policy Coordinating Committee. This agreement also established requirements for public involvement. So it will establish the requirement to have a communication and public involvement plan. We will make sure that we have a good stakeholder involvement, which includes outreach to the public and public comment periods and public support activities. We will also, this agreement lays out transportation planning and requires the entities to follow what's referred to as the 3 Cs, which is continuing, comprehensive, and cooperative planning activities. And will also require this agreement to develop an annual unified planning work program. A unified planning work program will establish goals and objectives that will establish what the Transportation Policy Committee is going to strive for, and then would be part of this agreement requirements moving forward. So again, this is a formal process led by the Montana Department of Transportation. And then these agreements will have bylaws associated with those committees as how they're going to function that will get approved once these committees are formed. So with that, Greg, do you have anything else you want to add? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Staff recommends approval of this memorandum of agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, commissioners? How about public comment on this item? Public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the memorandum of agreement between Lewis and Clark County, Montana Department of Transportation, the City of Helena, and the City of East Helena, as explained by Jenny Chambers.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the memorandum of agreement as presented. Further discussion, commissioners? Again, thank you, and thanks for your explanation of the memorandum. All right, commissioners, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is an agreement between Lewis and Clark County, Montana Department of Transportation, City of Helena, and City of East Helena. Again.
Mr. Chairman, commissioners, again, Jenny Chambers, Lewis and Clark County Public Works Director. Greg McNally, Community Development and Planning Director, is also here to provide support and answer any questions you guys may have. This next agreement is agreement for the distribution of metropolitan planning funds. This agreement, again, is between the Montana Department of Transportation, the City of Helena, City of East Helena, and Lewis and Clark County. And it provides the distribution of the metropolitan planning funds to conduct the Greater Helena Transportation Planning process as what will be described as in the Unified Planning Work Program. The Unified Work Program will be developed and adopted annually. And the City of Helena does have a MPO coordinator that's been hired to assist us as a staff resources to help conduct this work and program activities. PL funds or planning dollar funds are provided from the Federal Highway Trust Fund and are distributed by the State Department of Transportation to all metropolitan planning organizations. It's to conduct these planning activities that are required based upon the federal government statutes. There are several factors that determine the amount of funding that's granted. But then once we get a unified planning work program approved and developed and is formally adopted, then we will receive the annual allocation of these dollars. The estimated annual allocation dollars for planning for federal fiscal year 2024 will be $370,094. This funding will be available to the city of Helena on behalf of the Greater Helena Area Montana MPO Transportation Planning Coordinating Committee on a reimbursement basis once the Unified Planning Work Program is approved by the Federal Highway Administration. This funding will accrue if unobligated, so it'll carry forward if it's not used within a 4-year period of time. So the funding that we have is from 2024. We don't yet have a Unified Planning Work Program established. Once we form the Transportation Policy Committee, we'll develop that work plan, and then we can apply for reimbursement of those 2024 dollars, and then potentially even our 2025 dollars at that stage of the game. Again, this is a formal process led by the Montana Department of Transportation, and staff recommends approval of this agreement.
Thank you. Anything further?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Greg McNally with Community Development Planning Department. As you can see, our foot is firmly on the gas pedal on this process. And once this process is fully engaged and we've got these agreements in place, we will be beginning that process to develop that unified work plan that we are required to have. That is something that they're looking to have us complete by the end of the summer. So we'll be working diligently to do that as well, along with all the other long-range planning efforts that are currently ongoing in the county and in the city of Helena.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners?
Just to restate, what's the estimated dollars again per year?
Sure, Chairman, Commissioner Rolfe, certainly. For fiscal year 24, the estimate was $370,094.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? How about public comment on this item? Public comment? Any public comment? Okay, commissioners, their motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I would have moved to approve the agreement between Lewis and Clark County, Montana Department of Transportation, the city of Helena, city of East Helena, as explained by Ms. Chambers and Mr. McNally.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the agreement as presented. Further discussion, commissioners? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next, we have memorandum of understanding, memorandum of agreement between Lewis and Clark County, Montana Department of Transportation, City of Helena, and City of East Helena. As Commissioner Payne tells me, slow down. I'm going too fast. All right.
Mr.
It's
Chairman, Commissioners, again, Jenny Chambers, Lewis Clark County Public Works Director, and then getting support from Greg McNally, Community Development and Planning Director on this agenda item as well. This is the last of the agreements for you for the formation of the MPO. It's the memorandum of agreement for cooperative performance-based planning measures and targets. The purpose of this agreement is between the Montana Department of Transportation, City of Helena, City of East Helena, Lewis Clark County to establish roles, responsibilities, and commitments for cooperatively developing and sharing information related to transportation planning measures and targets. Performance measures increases transparency and provides a framework to support investment and decision-making based upon those priority projects that we establish. The MPO will include a transportation improvement program, which will be another document that provides a description of anticipated effects of the transportation program towards achieving the performance targets identified in the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. These then link the priorities to those performance targets. There's a lot of regulations that effectively evaluate and report safety requirements, infrastructure conditions, on-road mobile source emissions. So there's some air quality target goals that we could potentially achieve within the urban area and other surface transportation performance across the nation. So those are kind of the framework that could be established with the Transportation Improvement Program, where we will set individual performance goals and objectives for our urban area as part of this agreement and as part of that Transportation Improvement Plan. Again, this is a formal process led by the Montana Department of Transportation that ensures all federal requirements are met and followed, and staff recommends approval of the Metropolitan Planning Agreement for cooperative performance-based planning measures and targets.
Thank you. Mr. McNally, anything else?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Greg McNally again with the Community Development Planning Department. just want to take one more moment here to recognize Ms. Chambers and her effort here to prepare these agreements and her participation overall in the MPO process that we've been engaged in. Extremely, lot of detail here in what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. And Ms. Chambers has made sure that the county has not only recognized the voices of the other jurisdictions involved, but also made sure that the county's voice is well presented and engaged in this process. So just wanted to recognize Ms. Chambers in that process. And again, staff recommends approval of this particular agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, commissioners? Questions? Thank you very much. How about public comment on this item? Public comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none, is there a motion, please, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the resolution 2024-34 to approve funding from the county land, water, and wildlife bond to Prickly Pear.
Excuse me, we're on 15. Item 15.
We are. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just excited about the Prickly Pear
Yeah.
Land Trust Fund. Okay, I apologize. I checked that off like we'd already gone through it. Correction. I move that we approve the memorandum of agreement between Lewis and Clark County, Montana Department of Transportation, the City of Helena, the City of East Helena, as described and provided by Jenny Chambers and Greg McNally.
Second.
Sorry
Almost
about
got
that.
you. No, you're all right.
We've had a long
Moved and
agenda, you
seconded,
know?
approve
We're old.
Yes.
like, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just think we need to recognize our planning department and our public works department for the great work that they've done on this, and for the department heads for the effort they put through forth to make sure things go well. So thank you very much, both of you and your staff, for doing a great job on getting us rolling on this new potential for helping us have better transportation plans here in the county.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'll double down on that. It's a big deal with a ton of detail and a ton of federal language. One more to add, I'm sure that the county attorney's office has had nose under this tent and helped out quite a bit. So thank you for that. It's a lot of detail and a lot of work, and committing us to significant changes in the way we operate around transportation in our community. We have to do it, but how we do it is really as important as having to do it, and the detail is going to make the difference. The potential for conflict or having priorities, 4 different priorities going in 4 different directions has that potential. So if we have these documents and we have a good plan and we have a good structure, our likelihood of rowing in the same direction as the 2 cities, county, and the state is much more likely. So thank you for this. A lot of good work and appreciate it very much. So with that, commissioners, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And boy, it's been a long time, and I hate to make us wait any longer, Phil, and our friends that are here for both public comment and for the Prickly Pear Land Trust presentation. But I think we better take 5 minutes and stretch our legs, use the restroom, maybe get a cup of coffee, and we'll reconvene in 5 minutes. Thank you. All right, welcome back, everyone. We will reconvene. And the next item on the agenda is item number 16, which is resolution 2024-34 to approve funding from the County Land, Water, and Wildlife Bond to Prickly Pear Land Trust for the Bird's Eye Ranch Acquisition Project. And Mr. Gonzalez is with us. I'll let you introduce it further.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Phil Gonzalez here with Community Development and Planning. Today I'm back presenting the Bird's Eye Ranch Open Lands application, as you mentioned, resolution 2024-34. As you'll remember, I was in front of you presenting this application on April 18th of last month. The conclusion of that meeting began a 30-day comment period Those 30 days have since passed, and I'm here before you again. For the record, this open lands application seeks a financial request to purchase land within Lewis and Clark County utilizing the 2008 voter-approved land, water, and wildlife bond. The proposed land purchase is to be held by the applicant, Prickly Pear Land Trust. The current property owners are listed as the RV Ranch Company. In 2008, the voters of Lewis and Clark County voted to pass a bond measure for $10 million for the purchase of preserving open space lands in the county. When the bond measure passed, authority was given to create the Citizens Advisory Committee, or the CAC. And this committee is charged with making recommendations on the expenditure of bond funds to the Board of County Commissioners for the open space program. Since that creation of that program, 15 projects have been approved for funding throughout the county, leaving approximately $1,635,000. As you can see from this vicinity map in front of you, the property resides outside the city limits of Helena, south of Birdseye Road, and north of Fort Harrison. It is accessed off Barrett Road, and the property resides within the Fort Harrison Rural Growth Area Zone District. Chairman and Commissioners, the Prickly Pear Land Trust submitted a Level 2 application that follows the expedited review process. The application was included with the staff report, and it details the specifics of the proposed acquisition, proposed funding requests, and the open lands funding criteria. And a brief overview again for the record, the property is 1,457 acre ranch that it has been and is currently used for seasonal grazing of cattle. It is a large contiguous block of grassland, pasture, and hayland that is punctuated by 4 drainages that cross the property west to east, including Granite Creek, Cherry Creek, and 2 additional unnamed creeks. On the property exists 1 large calving barn, several cow sheds, and 1 historic stone-faced keep constructed into a hillside. There are two track roads that exist throughout the property that originate from Birdseye Road and Barrett Road. Submitted application states that Prickly Pear Land Trust seeks to acquire this property to be put into permanent conservation. The applicant requests $1 million from the county open space bond in order to purchase the RV Ranch Company property. This $1 million request would contribute to the total land cost of the appraised value, which is $2,900,000. The applicant has secured additional funds to purchase the property, including the Department of Defense Army Combatable Use Buffer Program from Fort Harrison and Montana Fish Wildlife Conservation Trust. This puts the applicant's financial request from the Open Lands Program at a 33.8% of the total land cost. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, at this board was presented last month that the applicant seeks to acquire this property and is manage it in conservation directly. As a result, a management plan is created between the applicant, PPLT, and the county, which is included as an exhibit within the resolution. The applicant has provided a land management terms and conditions. This is a general agreement between PPLT and the county that outlines PPLT's responsibilities, planned conservation work for the property. I'll briefly describe a few items from there. If approved, the applicant will begin a land restoration program promoting firstly wildlife habitat, then open space and scenic views, thirdly agriculture, and then fourth public access. Some of the property the applicant plans for will include seasonal leased cattle grazing and some seasonal public access that would take the form of hunting through the block management programs and other planned recreational forms such as hiking or equestrian activities. Additionally, the management plan states that PPLT will pay all taxes on the property when due. And additional, if the property ownership is ever transferred, it will follow the Open Space Land and Voluntary Conservation Easement Act that ensures the conservation easement is placed on the property and ensuring the county's open land program goals are ensured. I will note that edits to the management plan by the applicants within the resolution have been made to the draft management plan since the first presentation to this board on April 18th. Those edits have been presented in the staff report as attachment H. The resolution before you contains that updated information Planning and legal staff of the county have both reviewed those edits and believe them to be in compliance with the open space bond and open lands guidelines. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I would like to again, for the record, illustrate the expedited review process before you. As you can see on the left-hand screen, left-hand portion of the screen is labeled the expedited review process flow chart, with number 1 being the submission of the level 2 application, which was attached to the staff report. Prickly Pear Land Trust submitted that initial application on March 6, 2024, alongside all of the due diligence materials. The project was reviewed by staff, then presented to the applicant. Then the applicant presented to the Citizen Advisory Committee, the CAC, on April 2nd of 2024. That meeting was followed by a site visit on April 8th, hosted by Prickly Pear Land Trust onto the subject property. The CAC members reconvened on April 9th, having reviewed the application, seen the property on site. The CAC members discussed the application against the criteria laid out in the Open Lands Program Guide and voted 7-0 to recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners. Step 6 on that flow chart, a review of that recommendation, the application was presented to this board on April 18th, as you will remember from last month. An acceptance of that recommendation from the CAC, and which began a 30-day comment period. That 30-day comment period was posted on the county website. And then you'll see step 7, public hearing and decision of project funding. Mr. Chair, Commissioner, staff has received 19 letters directly of support, of comment at the time of the staff report. Staff received 3 additional letters of public comment after the writing of the staff report, in some of them just this morning, and I'll present those to you right now.
Thank you.
In addition to the public comment that staff received, the applicant has sought their own comments regarding their application. Those comments totaled 130 and have been presented within the staff report as attachment G, which includes a cover letter giving context from the applicant regarding their comments and a table with all the received comments. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, that concludes my presentation of the staff report, the application, all the relevant information. Staff has reviewed this application in depth and recommends approval of Resolution 2024-34. With that, I'm available for any questions you may have, and the applicant is here to answer any questions you may have as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez. Any questions for Mr. Gonzalez?
I just have one
Please.
clarification. Phil, just, the one question I have, does title to the land remain with the ranch, or is title held by the Prickly Pear Land Trust?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, this project is an acquisition by Prickly Pear Land Trust, so they will have title of the property.
Okay.
The ranch is selling all their interests of that property to Prickly Pear Land Trust.
Okay, so this is more than just a conservation easement. This is an actual sale of land to the Prickly Pear Land Trust. Okay, that's just cleared that up in my mind. Thank you.
Just to follow along on that, over the many projects that we've taken on over the last decade or more, there have been a combination of acquisitions as well as just conservation easement purchases. So this is not unprecedented. It's been one of the common practices throughout the process. Correct.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, that is correct. The applicant has, and various applicants have submitted different type of applications, some conservation easements, some acquisitions of property outright, correct, over the course of the program.
Thank you. Okay, and any other questions at this time?
Did you receive any negative comments?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we do receive a variety of comments outside, or just tend to be more in a question nature, aren't necessarily giving a public comment on the application, but sometimes can just ask a general question, but it's not necessarily a public comment on the application. We received some of those, just clarifications that some citizens might have, but no, I did not receive any ones that were directly not in support of this application.
Thank you.
Mr. Hash.
I guess I would just want to clarify for the record a little bit. There is a comment in commissioners in your packet where someone is commenting about the applicant. I think it's a little unclear about if it's necessarily against the proposal, but just to bring that just.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. How about the applicant? Anyone have further presentation? Give the applicant an opportunity to address the commission at this time if you'd like. Don't have to, but you're welcome to if you'd like. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. I'm Pam Busey. I'm here today on behalf of the board of trustees of the Prickly Pear Land Trust. And I just wanted to start my comments thanking all of you, the county commissioners and your staff for their work on this project. I also wanted to thank FWP leadership and Fort Harrison leadership, the Citizen Advisory Committee, the supporting organizations and individuals that submitted comments and came to site visits and did all the necessary work. And most importantly, the residents who voted and created the 2008 open space bond. There's not very often, and certainly when I got involved in Prickly Pear, did I ever think there would be a project of this nature where in our little community of Helena, we get to say we are supporting the defense of our nation and the security of our nation. And at the same time, we're also really supporting the economic contribution that Fort Harrison makes to our community. This is their #1 priority project for protecting their buffer zone. We also get to protect historical ag land that has been around and been an ag producer for generations. We get to protect wildlife and habitat, and we get to create some new public access. It really is sort of a once in a lifetime kind of project. We're excited. We're also excited that every $1 of open space bond money that you all are contributing is matched by $2 in other funding sources. So it's a really well leveraged project as well. We encourage your support. And again, we thank you for your attention to this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, anything else, Mr. Gonzalez?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, no, not this time.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions for staff? Prior to public comment. Okay, how about public comment? Any further public comment on this item? Any further public comment? Please.
Yes, my name is Willis Yarberry, and I'm just a retired guy, but I'm on the board of Prickly Pear also.
Will you spell your last name?
Sure, been doing it all my life. It's Yarberry. Just two things I'd like to just bring up. As somebody who did retire from working in conservation for over 25 years, pulling these multiple funding projects together like this, they're very, very complex. And I'd like to just commend the staff of Travis and Kevin and Rachel and others. I mean, this is equivalent of pulling bunny rabbits out of top hats. I mean, it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of luck. And this is a really exceptional project. Secondly, Prickly Pear Land Trust has a slogan, which is called room to roam. And approval of this project will give that to Fort Harrison, the home of the Devil's Brigade, and to the public. So I strongly urge approval of this worthy project. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Any further public comment? Further public comment? Further public comment? All right, commissioners, hearing none. Is there a motion, please?
Okay, now
Yes.
All right.
please.
I got so excited about this. Um, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve resolution 2024-34 to approve funding from the county land, water, and wildlife bond to Prickly Pear Land Trust for the Bird's Eye Ranch acquisition project. Applicant Prickly Pear Land Trust, planner Phil Gonzalez doing the presentation.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the resolution as presented. Further discussion, commissioners?
Mr. Chair, if I might.
Commissioner Rall, go ahead.
This, this particular project seems to me to be one that really fits in the needs of our community and the needs of the Fort Harrison. It probably goes beyond what we anticipated, what the people anticipated when they first passed the open space bond, 10, 12 years ago. And one of the things that I think is really notable here is that Prickly Pear Land Trust has said they want to continue paying the taxes on this property. And they're doing it on the other properties that the trust has purchased and put in their name. But it's a way of doing it without shifting the burden to other taxpayers. And I really appreciate that a great deal, because that's one of the things that people worry about, with taxes going up the way they are. So I just wanted on the record how much I appreciate their willingness to do that. And I hope it will continue into the far unseen future to keep that cost being shared, pushed off on the other taxpayers in our county. But also what we're doing here to protect the work of the fort, protect the defense mission that they have in training for night work. The county has stepped up. It's done some good work in creating a zoning district that prevents extra light coming up. This fit to interfere with the training mission at Fort Harrison. I think that everything about this seems to fit what was planned, and maybe goes beyond what was planned originally. So thank you to all those who worked on it. I appreciate Phil and the group in our planning office for the good work that were done. I appreciate the diligent efforts of the land trust for what they're doing as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Payne.
Yes, I just, when the bonding was passed 10, 12 years ago, who could ever have imagined the growth of this community, all the houses, all the subdivisions? Where do all these people come from? And I am so thankful that people had the foresight to recognize how important it will be for some of us poor country people who live here to have something like this available. The subdivisions, I know they're important. We have to encourage growth. We need the jobs. We need the tax base, but we also need some tranquility. We need to protect our mental health. And to me, this is a huge part of protecting mental health of a lot of us that need the quiet, empty spaces occasionally. That's all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'll add on to that, I guess, and in that, I think it is our job really is to take the open space program and compare proposed projects to the criteria and to the recommendations of the Open Lands Committee. And I think easily to see how all the boxes are ticked off there. So in terms of meeting the criteria for being a project that could be funded, it meets all of those. And then you look at public comment and it's overwhelmingly positive. And then you look at those additives that Pam Busey spoke to and others have spoken to in that how does it jive with our other land use efforts? We have a joint land use study with Fort Harrison. Big piece of that is to try and protect their mission there and protect all of the economic and programmable, I can't even say that, infrastructure that's there. So they have all kinds of programs going on and training, of course. So it meets all of that criteria as well. And then does it have potential for still being egg production land? That's there. Restoration is there. And then the kind of the icing on the cake, public access and public enjoyment of the property. So there's not too many ways to find a negative with this one. And the other big piece that we have looked at over time is that we didn't want the open space bond to be the only funding source. And in this case, and it's been said many times, that this is just approximately a third of the, or less of the funding that has been proposed here. So that's great that there are a lot of partners and a lot of public partners that are participating in this, which is great. And thus the enhancement of the public side of it. Yeah. Oh, you can't hear me? Sorry. So I'll stop there and just say that it ticks off all the boxes necessary from my perspective to be a great project. And I'm happy to support this motion. Anything else, commissioners? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. And thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Thank you to Prickly Pear Land Trust for all your work on this. And looking forward to getting on the property at some point in the future and enjoying it. All right. With that, we do have other guests in the room. Thanks for being so patient. This is a time where we will take public comment on any item that is under the jurisdiction of the commission, but not on today's agenda. So we are open for public comment. And if you just give us your name and.
Good morning. Yes,
Yeah,
my name
that's
is
correct.
Kelly Pozowitz. I am the brand new Executive Director of the Helena Regional Sports Association, and I'm really happy to be here today. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. And I wonder if I could have permission to approach you with a one-page handout.
Please.
So I'm here today also with board members Heather Graham and Paul Landis, and we're here to share some new information on the proposed ARC Sporting and Events Complex. And you have received the full report in advance, and I just handed out a one-pager to talk about today. I just wanted to start by saying you may recall that we met with community members and stakeholders last year, which provided valuable feedback on the project, and it impacted the ARC's design and the goals. And we've used that stakeholder feedback as an important part of the data gathered for our economic impact study, which you have received. As you will see, the conclusions are very positive. The economic benefit of the ARC indicate visitor spending has the potential to bring in $26 million annually to the region and support nearly 330 jobs. Furthermore, the recreation and quality of life impacts are an effective way to retain and attract residents. The ARC also has the potential to provide significant health benefits to residents of all ages. The next step in our project will be to share these findings with the community through a series of public meetings. This will also be a chance for us to further discuss the project with the community and get their feedback. So, our funding plan for this project will include securing private funds from foundations, corporations, and individuals, as well as significant support from the community through a bond measure. We hope you find today's report to be informative, and we will be in touch soon with a second report that speaks to the sustainability of the ARC after it is built, which is also very positive. But for now, we wanted to keep you apprised of the new developments that we've received. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your public comment. And we'll ask for any others. Any other public? Any other public? Thank you very much. Commissioners? Anything further for the good of the order here? Appreciate this information and looking forward to more to come. Okay. Anything further over here? How about over here? Anything further for today? All right. Last chance for public comment. All right. Commissioners, we will stand adjourned. Thank you very much.